Abraham Lincoln warned that the philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. Would you like to know what's being taught in today's classrooms? Welcome to Say What? With attorney Mark Schneider and Pastor George Rosca Jr. They'll explore the issues facing children, parents, and society as a result of the public schools and the forces behind them. Say What is the radio program of Protect Our Kids, which seeks to inform and equip concerned citizens about the looming crisis in American education. So listen in as your hosts, Mark Schneider and George Rosca Jr. unpack the issues and organizations affecting our children. And now here's your hosts, Mark Schneider and George Rosca Jr.
Hello everyone, I'm George Rosca.
And I'm Mark Schneider.
And we want to welcome you to today's episode 102 of Say What, where we talk about the threats to our children in the public school system, including a very disturbing trend of conservative teachers with traditional values being terminated for their Christian beliefs.
Yeah, that's right, George. Hardly a week goes by here at POK where we don't hear of some teacher, a conservative teacher, a Christian teacher, being reprimanded or suspended or under threat of termination, sometimes terminated for either expressing the conservative views or refusing to go along with the woke agenda. And so we thought we would highlight a number of these episodes in today's program. These are just a few of the ones that we hear about virtually every day. But, before we go into teacher terminations, we thought we'd give a little bit of proof to parents who are still sort of on the line thinking, well, it's not happening in my school. I know it's bad out there. I hear about critical theory being in all the school system across the nation, but I know my particular school is safe, that my children are okay, that good things are going on there. Parents, that's probably not true. This indoctrination has so infected our public school system. It's so hard to escape it. The sad truth is that while there may be some exceptions, the rule is that it's everywhere. In fact, George, just yesterday we heard about Pleasant Grove High School in Elk Grove up in the Sacramento area, where they had a huge mandatory assembly for all the high school students. And George, as you know, guess what was featured there? A drag queen exhibition. And parents were left completely in the dark about this. And the really disturbing thing about it is that when it was announced, you could see the kids in the audience. They were screaming in appreciation. They were ready for this to show you that how far this indoctrination has already taken place. And that's just one example, but there are many, many, many more. And we're just going to cite a few of these. Here's one. This comes from Fox News. Pre-K teachers claims idea of child innocence is a myth and that toddlers are not too young for sexuality training. This is from William Willie Valapando, who works at Santa Ana College in California, where he teaches early child development. He also indicated on his Instagram that he's a pre-K educator. And he goes on to attack the idea that children should not be exposed to sexuality, claiming that such a view is very white, Christian, upper class, cisgendered, and heterocentric. Not talking about queerness in the classroom is not letting children be children. Kids are never too young to learn this stuff. He went on to say that, this may make parents uncomfortable, but we need to do it. Quote, children who are exposed to environments with more fluid understandings of gender are more likely to understand that gender is fluid. According to Villapando, talking to children about gender includes telling them that it's a social contract.
And this is exactly what Alfred Kinsey really propagated in the 40s and the 50s. And he seems to be a very good disciple of his, that gender is a social construct. In fact, another California teacher out of Bakersfield named Olivia Garrison bragged about helping students hide their social transition from parents. Fox News Digital found that Garrison, a ninth grade history teacher, worked at Del Oro High School, located in Kern High School District. And what was she doing? Well, the social transitioning is really a first step for transgender children. It entails adopting new names, pronouns, changing their clothing, and getting haircuts to match their preferred gender expression. And the New York Times reported that Olivia Garrison, a history teacher in Bakersfield, California, who is non-binary, has helped students socially transition at schools without their knowledge. And here's what she says. My job, which is a public service, is to protect kids. Sometimes they need protection. Guess from who? From their own parents. This is absolutely insane.
Yeah, George, and these examples go on and on and on. We don't have time to take you through everything that we see, but we literally get examples of these every day. And another teacher in the Sacramento City Unified School District, Danita McCrae, recommended using a gender unicorn with toddlers to introduce gender theory. Or what about Sky Tolley, a teacher at Saturn Street Elementary, located in the LA Unified School District, discussed on TikTok using a gender-fluid stuffed animal to teach children on pronouns and being non-binary. Gender fluidity refers to the change over time in a person's gender expression or gender identity or both. And teachers like Sky Tooley are committed to teaching this to children in their purview.
And even further, going out to New York, a teacher, Deborah Rosenquist of the Terryville Road Elementary School, is being sued for manipulating one of her 5th grade students into changing their gender identity without parents' consent or knowledge, which drove the student to consider suicide. The lawsuit claims that Rosenquist started calling the 5th grader Leo and using he/him pronouns in class in October 2020, unbeknownst to the girl's parents. And it was only months later in January 2022 when the girl was caught drawing a picture of a suicidal girl with the words, "I want to kill myself." And that's when her parents were informed that she was being called male pronouns in school. And Rosenquist has allegedly read from LGBT books that were not on the school district's curriculum and told her students, try being gay, even if they were not. And so this kind of action by activist teachers in schools today is a very common sight.
Yeah, one more example. This one comes from Maine. So, we've given you examples from California all the way across the country to New York and now up to Maine on the Canadian border. You might have seen this in the news. An 11-year-old boy made a statement to a school board meeting by reading from a very explicit book he said he took from his middle school library. The excerpt he read aloud recounted a sexual interaction between a 17-year-old boy and an 18-year-old, this is an adult, 18-year-old man. His father, Adam Zajac, also addressed the school board during the Wyndham Raymond School District meeting on this last February 14th, telling attendees that his son had also been asked by the librarian if he wanted a graphic novel version of this same book that describes intimate sexual relationships between an adult and a child. So parents, this is happening all across the country and in virtually every school in the union in some form. You cannot hide your head in the sand and think it's not happening at my school. But George, this of course begs the question, what about the teachers in these school districts? And what happens when they refuse to go along with this new woke orthodoxy? Well, we know what happens, don't we?
We definitely do. They get fired. And here is the sad story of Jessica Tapia, who taught in the Harupa Unified School District in Riverside County. And Jessica is a strong believer, and she wasn't going to have any of this. Her teachers union was pushing this parental secrecy policy. And obviously these policies go by different names. In the state of Oregon, they're referred to as gender support plans. And you will see this over and over in many school districts that are adopting these kind of plans. Ultimately, one of the things that's at their root is how to do all of this stuff without parental consent or knowledge. And it's all under the guise of supporting the whole child and their needs.
Yeah, and unfortunately, some of this is being challenged in court. In fact, there's a case that we've talked about before that's ongoing right now, Arroyo Regino versus the Chico Unified School District. This is in the Eastern District. Miss Regino's 5th grade elementary school daughter was encouraged by a school counselor to adopt a male identity. The district premised its decision to hide its actions from this girl's mother on the so-called parental secrecy policy that the school has adopted. And as George mentioned, these policies are being adopted all over the country. And most of these policies are based on a false interpretation of state laws, but it's happening nevertheless. Tanner Cross, here's another example. This goes back to Loudoun County, Virginia. Tanner, of course, if you'll remember, was a gym teacher who in 2021 was suspended and banned from school grounds after he refused to recognize a biological boy as a girl. Okay. So what has become, you just can't do it, or you're going to be suspended or firing. If it's clear that you are addressing a person of a certain biology, person's sexual biology, if they claim to be something else and you're a conservative or Christian teacher, and you just say, no, I can't go along with this, you may be out of a job. And that's what happened to Tanner Cross.
Well, and thankfully Tanner was reinstated, that's after going through the court system. Another example, Peter Vlaming, a Virginia high school teacher, was fired last year for refusing to use, again, a student's preferred gender pronoun. Mr. Vlaming, who had taught French for 7 years, said he couldn't in good conscience follow the superintendent's order to call one of his transgender student by masculine pronouns. He agreed to refer to the student by a different name as requested by the student, and he avoided using any pronouns while in the student's presence. And this is out of West Point, Virginia. Well, the school board fired him.
And George, here's yet another example. This one from Kansas. Kansas veteran teacher Pamela Ricard, who was officially temporarily suspended last year under the district's bullying and diversity and inclusion policies. So, again, these are buzzwords, whereby a lot of these policies are put in place. And, you know, who isn't for, anti-bullying policies? But too often, George, they're being used, to chill the First Amendment rights of teachers and students as well. Pamela was also denied the religious exemption she requested related to the district's newly required practice to use students' preferred names, their preferred pronouns. In the spring of 2021, when middle school administrators began issuing, quote, diversity and equity training and emails to middle school teachers directing them to use students' preferred names instead of the names listed in the district's enrollment records or their legal name. What does that tell you? So they have a legal name, they have a real name, which their parents probably call them, but teachers, surreptitiously, we want you to use their preferred gender pronouns, and if you don't do it, you're going to be suspended or terminated.
And what's really ridiculous about this, Mark, is that a teacher should not have to use a religious exemption to not call somebody by their preferred pronouns. I think that school districts should call those scientific exemptions, because science tells us that there are only two sexes. We are either male or female. That's what our biology tells us.
And George, unfortunately, the examples don't stop there. Why don't you tell us about Jessica, this physical education teacher?
So out of Jurupa Valley School District here in Riverside County, California, this has just hit the news like crazy. Because Jessica, who's a PE teacher, was ordered to allow boys who identified as girls into the girls' private area and to hide a student's gender identity from their parents and also to refer them according to their preferred gender pronoun. In a notice under Superintendent Trenton Hansen's letterhead reviewed by Fox News Digital, the district said they couldn't accommodate Tapia's Christian beliefs, which prohibited her from withholding information on gender transition from kids' parents. This shouldn't have anything to do with religion in the first place. This is just the right thing to do. Parents, teachers are being instructed today in school districts to withhold information from you. You have the right to know everything about your child, and yet this is what the teachers union thinks about you.
Yeah, under the 14th Amendment, the Supreme Court has found as early as the early 1900s that parents have the fundamental right to control the upbringing of their children, not woke public school officials. But regarding Jessica, the school district said, consequently, the district will release you from your employment effective at the end of the day on January 31st, 2023. The notice went further to say, based on your religious beliefs, you cannot be honest with parents. If asked about a student's gender identity by a parent, you cannot refer the parent to a counselor, defer the inquiry, and suggest they speak with a student, or otherwise deflect the parent's inquiry. The letter signed by Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Daniel Brooks, said, quote, the district cannot accommodate your religious beliefs that prohibit you from maintaining a student's gender identity and refraining from disclosing a student's gender identity from his, her, their parents, guardians. It continued on. Tapia, as a physical ed teacher, also refused to allow male genitals in the girls' locker room in opposition to the district policy. So, George, common sense now is no longer being allowed to prevail in the public school environment. And if you go against these policies, you're going to be out of a job.
And this is, laughable. We should be crying at the same time. How in the world can a school district even state this? Refusing to allow male genitals in the girls' locker room. That's in opposition of our district policy. And in fact, the district later on made a statement to Fox News that they didn't discriminate against Tapia based on her religious beliefs. So then what? What did they do if Tapia mentioned it very clearly that it was her religious beliefs and standing on truth and scientific truth as well, that led her to make this decision. But, the good news, Mark, is that Tapia now is being represented by an attorney and by an organization that we trust, we work with very closely. And I think you probably have a little bit more details on this.
Yeah, they're being represented by Pacific Justice Institute, which has chapters in many states throughout the country. They are a nonprofit law firm. So if you have a case where you feel that your religious rights are being violated in the public schools, either as a parent or a child, you can contact Pacific Justice Institute, which we highly endorse, and they will take on the case free of charge. In fact, George, we have a legal incident reporting mechanism on our Protect Our Kids website. So if you go to the front page, protectourkidsnow.org, and scroll down, you'll see a section called Know Your Legal Rights. And if you feel that you have an incident that needs to be reported, that you think you might need legal help on, please take the time to fill that out. We will look at it, and we will vet it. And if need be, we will contact Pacific Justice Institute or one of the other law firms that we typically work with. A couple of notable examples is Alliance Defending Freedom, which is a wonderful organization. But another one is Advocates for Faith and Freedom, and they're based in San Diego. And George, as you may have heard, they recently filed a case in opposition to Senate Bill 107. This was the famous statute that was passed recently that is ripping children from their parents' custody, particularly when the parents are divorced and one parent may live in a state, let's say in Texas, the other parent lives in California, and the parent in California wants to help their child go through the gender transformative process, either through puberty blockers or surgery. But the parent in the other state who has legal custody, they don't want any of this to happen. They want to raise their child in conformance with their biological gender. Well, SB 107 literally allows the California parent to capture the child, and then the state steps in to make sure that they achieve the gender affirming care that the California parent wants. This goes against so many fundamental liberties in this country, including the full faith and credit clause. So fortunately, advocates for faith and freedom are now taking this case on in California. So parents, you do have rights, but if you sit on your hands, those rights will never be enforced. You have to take affirmative action. You have to get actively involved in your child's education. We are taxpayers. We are paying the bills for the public school system. It is within our constitutional and state rights with whatever state you live in to be involved in your child's education. And George, as always, we advocate parents because we think the school system is far too gone to be reformed in time to save your particular child. So if you can do it, we encourage you to get your children out of the public school system altogether for either a private school or a homeschool environment.
Yeah, and Mark, we're also so grateful for teachers like Jessica, like Tanner, and like all those others that we just mentioned through today because of their bravery to try and protect kids. We've always encouraged parents to get their children out, but we've encouraged adult teachers to go back into the public school system and really be missionaries there and protect these kids from the harmful and detrimental effects of what the teachers unions have been doing. So teachers out there, please continue to fight for our children. Be there on the front lines to protect them. We at Protect Our Kids are standing with you. And so we encourage teachers and parents alike to go to our website, protectourkidsnow.org. We have a lot of great information, including brochures, everything from the triple threat, our comprehensive sexuality education, critical race theory, and social emotional learning brochure. It's kind of a 3-in-1. Plus we have fact sheets on CSC and on SEL where we dive into further detail on each one of those. We also have created many videos on each of the triple threats and on many other topics as well. And there's more videos to come that we will be rolling out that you can easily share on Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, Twitter, wherever you are on social media. We also encourage you to download our How to Start a Private School or an Alternative School guide. This will take you from how to homeschool to how to develop a full-on private school at your local church to anywhere in between. There are many kind of models that you can adopt. And so please, parents, download that. Share it with your pastors. Share it with your elders in your church. It's a 10-step, easy guide to follow. Also, we have a speaker button. If you are interested in having Mark or I come out to your group or to your church to speak on any of these topics, we will be more than happy to come out. We do this all the time. We even organize conferences within churches or other settings. And the last thing is we cannot do this alone. We need you as our listeners and supporters to donate to this ministry for us to keep it going. You can become part of our Guardian Angels program. If you hit the donate button on our website, it will take you through all of the information on how you can become a monthly donor and help to protect kids. And by the ministry of Protect Our Kids, which helps to inform parents and pastors about the dangers to our children in the public school system, we're able to help evacuate more and more kids out of these dangerous public schools and into the safety of homeschool and private Christian schools. So thank you, everyone, for listening and for watching, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Say What, the radio ministry of Protect Our Kids, where they seek to inform and equip concerned citizens about the crisis in American public education and the forces working against our children. Join us at this same time every Saturday as attorney Mark Schneider and Pastor George Rosca Jr. unpack the issues so that we can better safeguard our nation's children. And join Mark and George right here next week at this same time for another episode of Say What.